Do you feel like you're barely keeping your head above water? That no matter how hard you try, meaningful progress remains out of reach? Heather gets that. She battled an eating disorder for years before seeking help. Now in recovery, Heather is here to tell you that positive change is possible even when it doesn't feel that way. Join her as she shares openly about her struggles and small triumphs. Fair warning though, Heather doesn't hold back. Her candid story may trigger some. But for those wanting honesty, hope, and healing, this is 1% Better with Heather. The information and stories shared on 1% Better are based on host Heather's personal experiences with eating disorders and mental health challenges. Heather is not a licensed doctor, therapist, dietitian, or other health professional. Her advice and opinions should not be taken as professional medical advice. Please consult your physician or a qualified health provider regarding any medical or health-related issues. 1% Better also contains descriptions of eating disorders that may be triggering for some listeners. Discretion is advised.
Hey there, my little gappers, and welcome to 1% Better with Heather. I have a very special guest with me today. Laura Talosi is here. Yay, I got that right.
Yes,
so
you did.
Welcome, Laura. Welcome.
Thank you.
And
Thank you for having me.
Laura's in for a treat. Oh gosh, Laura is a registered dietitian, my first registered dietitian. It's funny because the universe works in mysterious ways. I put it out on my TikTok the other day because I made a TikTok about my not so liking of dietitians. Not you. You seem like a lovely person. And I was like, okay, come on down, and crickets. And lo and behold, you ask, you shall receive.
100%. Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm Canadian. I'm nice. So I won't be that mean. We'll go with that one. So let's jump right into it, my friend.
Sure.
Introduce yourself to the world.
Yeah. So my name is Laura Talosi, and I am a registered dietitian. I'm an integrative nutritionist, but I also am a non-diet weight loss coach. So I've been doing this for over 30 years, and I can't wait to dive in with your experience with registered dietitians and just to say, we all have our different backgrounds and our different approaches, and I think mine is probably a little bit different from standard. So, just here to support you and go right in. And I'm from New York, but I'm nice too.
No, it's all good. It's all good. This is a mental health program. I'm not trying to give people more issues, man. We're here to fix people.
Yeah, 100%.
Support people.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you get into nutrition?
So I got into nutrition. I always had a love of food. So I was always cooking. I am from an Italian descent. So we were always around food, celebrating food for all sorts of, family celebrations, whatever. But I also did struggle with weight issues, at least in my perception. And so then I went to school, and I knew I wanted to support people. I initially wanted to actually go to medical school, but I actually found a nutrition course, and that really kind of changed the course of my career because I really love food and learning about food, but the power of food to actually heal and support. That's kind of how I started. So it was my own personal love, but then like, oh my gosh, I can take this food and really support people and help them through that power.
So as we were talking off camera, you work on the other side of it, but I've been on both sides of the coin. So I know, lucky me. So when someone comes to you, what are they looking for, and why would they come to you?
Yeah. So typically someone comes to me initially is weight loss. So that's kind of like they come to me, they want to lose weight lose weight. And so when I meet with them, so I always meet with someone prior to working with them, and I say, listen, I am all about supporting this process. but my approach is very different. I don't count calories. I don't do macros, and I don't do any of that. My approach is really more of tapping into the wisdom of your body and trusting your body and letting your body kind of guide you. So that's really where I come from. So if they're looking to, I'm not cutting calories, and I have clients who are successful. We're not cutting calories. I'm not doing food portions. I'm not doing that because that's coming from a place, again, from my perspective, it's coming from a place of deprivation and control and lack. And so my approach is really coming from a place of love and health and nurturing and support. So very, very different from how I was trained as well as a registered dietitian. Mm-hmm.
So would you call that intuitive eating? Is that what they call
Yeah, you can. Yeah,
eating?
definitely. You can call it more of an intuitive eating approach. Definitely. I'm definitely more aligned with that intuitive eating, that mindful eating approach. Yeah, 100%. But also working on the other piece is that emotional piece, because that's also really important. I find, just through my experience, I've been doing this over 30 years, when I first started out, it was, portions and blah, blah, blah. But through that process, if people don't get in touch with that emotional piece, the things that are coming up, and that you address those emotions instead of stuffing them down or not paying attention to them, they're not going to get to a place of feeling good about themselves, right? And from a place of nurturing themselves, because it's still a different place. So we need to touch upon that emotional metabolism piece that I like to call it, because it's so important for sustainability and even using those tools and applying it into other areas of your life, which happens. There's a spillover for sure.
So how I like that, getting to the root of it, because there's a reason why a lot, I call it an addiction, right? People self-medicate, whatever
Yes.
your addiction is.
100%.
And food is probably the number one, like, what's the word? Okay one to do,
Exactly.
right? It's not illegal,
Sure.
right? Like, you
Right.
gotta eat.
Right, exactly.
But
and probably one of the hardest, because you have to eat, right? So there's that trickiness to it.
I always say my kryptonite is my medicine. It's very hard. And so with that, when they come see you, like, is it like a therapy session? Like, why are we having these emotions? Why are we going to the food? Why are we trying not to feel the feelings?
Sure. So obviously each session is going to unfold differently, but where I start everybody is in the same place, right? Because it's the process that I take them through. So I do first address what are the signs that their body is giving them on a physical level, but then we also look at looking at the past, briefly at the past, like forgiving themselves from everything that, if they've tried for years and years and years, and this diet roller coaster and the up and down of the weight. So forgiving themselves of the past, because that blocks people too if they're not forgive themselves. So making sure that they're forgiving themselves of the past actions, whatever they are, coming to terms with them, and then being able to move forward. So in the process, we look at that, but I do use a food journal, but not in the sense of how much you're eating, but in a way to get in touch with any emotions that they're feeling. So that's kind of how we start. So when you're eating, are you eating out of hunger, or are there other emotions that we're uncovering? So I get them to look to their physical hunger first, and just to kind of see where they're on their physical hunger. So I use a little scale, but then the beauty of this, then what happens is they start to self-reflect and be like, okay, I'm eating not because I'm hungry, but because there's a certain emotion that's coming up. Okay. So whether it's stress, right? Stress is all about emotions. There's different things that bring on stress, right? Different outside things that happen. So, okay, if it's stress, now you've uncovered that stress, or I'm tired, or I had a bad day. So there's all these other things that happen when they start to explore that. So that's kind of like the very first piece of exploring that emotional piece, what's coming up. And then the next step is, okay, so you're eating when you're stressed. Great. You're an observer. You realize that. It's like an aha moment. Like, okay, I'm not hungry. I'm stressed. This is what I'm choosing to medicate myself, right? Because I'm stressed, whatever. So then the next step is, okay, so, what are the tools we can use that to support ourselves to be in a state of that we can handle the stress in a different way. And so I use, a bunch of different tools, but to recognize that and then to be okay. So if I'm in the middle of a session and let's just say we talked about like, I'm so upset with myself that I'm here again, like I've done this over and over and over, I'm here again. Then you feel this resistance in your body, right? This crunchiness. So let's just feel that crunchiness in our body and let's just be okay with that. And so we feel that peace in our body. So that's just kind of a part of that process. Feel that in your body, and it's okay to feel that, and love that peace in your body. Not from again, nurture that, like that resistance. It's okay, and then we work on letting that go, and just so that's kind of like the process. So this session. So and you asked like, is it like a therapy? So I'm not a therapist, right? But I do call myself a coach because it is a process, and I'm supporting them and giving them the tools and the skills to go through this process in a way that's aligned with them. So the other piece is getting in alignment with the actions that feel good to them and not feel guilty and feel bad about themselves too, right? Because that's all wrapped up in food too.
Right?
And so like, so if I'm taking a person on this journey and they eat a cookie, then there's all this, right, this guilt and shame that's coming. And so I'm like, okay, it's great to feel that way, but let's work through that, because is there really any guilt? Are we truly a bad person if we eat that cookie? And kind of like work through those feelings of when, like that's just kind of like an example, because that comes with it. And so I want them to feel like good. Like, okay, I ate the cookie. So what? Now let's move on, right? Like that's the place that I want to get them to from where I'm working with them.
Well, and I love cookies. Cookies are amazing. And really and you're Italian, I'm Polish. Our people are foodies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the original foodies.
Mm-hmm.
And with Easter coming up, it's not like, I don't know, I'm going to assume your house as well. It's like going to Henry VIII, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
there's food everywhere. Like you
Mm-hmm.
can feed all of Canada in my house.
Right.
So how do we, in that journey
Mm-hmm.
with you,
Mm-hmm.
not get overwhelmed and be like,
Right.
is there like a system that
Yeah.
I would do if I
Yeah,
was a
100%.
client?
So so again, that tapping into that hunger piece is really foundational. So then they know why they're eating. Then, so when they approach any event, whether it's going out to dinner or going for a celebration, like how do you want to approach this event? Like you can approach it in a place from like, I'm going to celebrate and it's okay, the food that I choose. Versus I ate that extra piece of challah bread or whatever it may be, right? So, and then to layer it, the next layer is like, okay, so I'm choosing this food because I'm also nurturing my body, right? So that's going to change your decisions if you're coming from a place of nurturing and supporting and loving your body versus hating your body, right? So that's another thing that comes up, as you know, is like that dislike, that lack of worth, that hate, for their physicality. And so how can we love ourselves exactly how we are and then move forward and make our choices from a place of loving ourselves from a place of exactly how we are, but nurturing our body. So that's kind of the other, that's like a whole nother level, is that nurturing piece. So, and so that's kind of where you get into like the quality of food, right? So I don't like look bad at bad food, good food, but like, I'm all about the farm raised food and quality of food. So you're looking at food in a different way from nurturing yourself versus, as like you're bad. So when you're loving yourself and you're nurturing yourself, you want to nurture yourself with food that's whole and food that energizes you and that, supports the physicality as well as the emotionality too, right? Because food does that too, but you need to be in a place where you can do it from a place not of deprivation and shame, but from a place of, yes, this feels good to me. And if you have the cookie, that's okay. I had the cookie, big deal, because you're in a place of nurturing yourself.
So I love that you said like farm raised. Like I live in Vancouver, but there's farms over here. Like I'm very blessed, right? Canada has different laws with food, right? Like there's not a lot of things that are allowed in our food, right? And I think that makes a huge difference in digestion,
Oh,
just in general. So maybe, and I'll circle back to around something else that you said, but
sure.
speaking of like digestion, so I know certain foods like Brussels sprouts and broccoli, gassy foods, cabbage. Even though I love them all, they don't love me. How is there like a trick to dealing with the bloating? Like I know maybe not on your side of it, but from like the eating disorder side, like that's everyone's worst fear is you start nourishing your body because you've been starving and now you're like, you look 1,000 months pregnant.
So I'm sorry, some of the questions kind of blurted out, but in terms of like the bloating piece, and if I'm answering it the wrong way, let me know. I also do assess that piece when I'm working with my clients. So that's what I love, is that I also can adjust that physicality. And so if that is an issue with that person, we look at that piece too, and as we, that piece is also looked at. And so it depends on the person what's going to be looked at first, because if their GIs, so people's gastrointestinal tract can really affect their way of living. So if that's a big piece, like I have people that like they're scared to leave their house, or they have to time it just so because of they need to find a bathroom or something,
Right.
So that has to be addressed too, because they have to be, comfortable. So that could be the foods that they're eating, but that could also be an emotional piece too. So you have to hit both of that, both of that at the same time. So I'm looking at both of that, and I do use journaling as like, okay, let's kind of like we can go a little deeper if we want, with that piece as well. But I look at that as well, and sometimes that's either the first layer to look at. Because if you're not absorbing and digesting your food, you're not getting the nutrients to support your brain health either, right? So that it's like this double-edged whammy here. Like, because if you're not digesting and getting the right food, that's going to affect your mental health as well, right? So it's both. So I have to so that's when I'm seeing someone one-to-one. We're going to address what do we need to hit, what are we going to hit first, or both are at the same time. And so sometimes a person might not be ready to address that piece initially, and we need to go through the emotional piece first. And then once they're feeling confident about their choices, then they are in a safer place to address that piece. So they have to feel confident and I'm going to say safe, because if they're not feeling safe or confident in their choices, that's just another layer that they might not be able to address right away.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Okay, I got. So, and then I liked what you said, that to feel confident and learn to love and be okay. And I'm learning, someone told me, I don't know, going on 30 years ago, don't sweat the small stuff. Still hasn't worked yet. And how do we get to that place of looking at the Easter food table and being like, okay, it's all good. If I have a piece of cake, I have a piece of cake. The world's not coming to an end. How do we get to that side of it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's just that. That's the process, and that's the support. So I'm going to say most people need the support to do that, right? I work with people long term because they need support to get through that. They need the help to get through that, and you're rewiring your thought process, right? So that's a practice. And so what are the things that you need to do in order to lead up to that. So get in touch with your physicality, right? That's, we talked about that piece. Get in touch with the feelings that come up. So that's important too. So, and that's what I'll work with someone like, so, or you like even before that. So let's say like, how do you get in touch with that cake on Easter? So when I'm working with someone, they know something's coming up and they're scared. I'm like, okay, let's bring it up. So we feel it in their body, right? Like this is the actual thing. We're actually, where's this coming? Where's the resistance in your body? And we're actually feeling that, and we're actually being okay with that. It's actually like, it's, being at peace with that feeling and actually working together. They're feeling okay with that. Then I say, okay, you have that piece of cake. Where's that resistance in your body? Then they'll be like, okay, I actually don't feel that resistance anymore. So it's actually like this actual process I do in a session with a person. They can do it on themselves after we do it. Cause that's, like we work with people, right, together, but the goal is for them to be at a place that they don't need my support anymore, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's the goal. Because they need these tools. I wanted to provide these tools, for people to move on. And because that's how it's going to sustain them. And that's how they're going to have that healthy relationship with food and with all the other relationships that they have, right? So get in touch. So that's the process. Feel that resistance. Be okay with that resistance. And then a part of the process is where is that in your body? So I'm kind of taking you through what I actually do. Mm-hmm. Have them feel that resistance. And then actually, if it's in alignment with them, if it feels good, can you pretend that resistance is like a child or a pet in your body and send like love and send some love to that place in your body. And then this way they get into the change. They change the feelings, so that it's their feelings of their nourishing feelings versus a depleting feeling, right? Because our emotions can be depleting. I don't say bad or good. I'm watching my words. Now I really want to be impactful with the words I choose. And so I'm not saying there's not negative or positive, but there are emotions, if we don't handle them, that are repleting. They replete us physically on a physical level as well as an emotional level. But then there are the emotions that are repleting us. They replete us and nourish us on a physical and as an emotional level as well. So we want to get into those feelings that are nourishing us. All right. So what's another practice that we do is that practice of gratitude. Like that's the easiest feeling. That's the easiest feeling to actually be able to relate to is gratitude. And that's another kind of process that I take them to, separate from like that in-person session, but get into those feelings of gratitude, right? Like, so we see gratitude journals all over. You see people practicing that. But the reason why we say, let's do gratitude, sure, it's feeling great, but it's getting you into a nurturing and replenishing feeling. So you need to tap into that feeling. This is my approach. Okay. Different from others, whatever, but get into that feeling that's repleting you, and then try and feel that feeling throughout the day versus less. So that's why that gratitude is easy to tap into. So you could do that morning and night. And then when you're in these nourishing, repleting feelings, your decisions are coming from a place of nourishment. And so when you hit that Easter table and you're in these feelings of feeling good, the decisions and the choices you make are coming from a nourishing place. Versus, and that's how, when you're experiencing these feelings more often, that's how you can make that change. So it's a practice, though. It doesn't happen overnight. I'm not gonna lie and say it happens overnight, but it's a practice. I practice it every day for myself, just to get into that feeling, these nourishing feelings, these feelings of love and like that. I do that every day, because that's going to be healing and nurturing to that body, to your body, and emotionally as well.
And that is amazing, because when I just know me being in like fight or flight my whole life, didn't know that you weren't supposed to do that your whole life. And your cortisol levels are through the roof and just functioning on fumes, basically.
Yes.
When I say sit in the shit and feel the feelings, which sucks. Like, it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But feelings never kill anybody.
No. And you have
Right?
to feel to heal, right?
Oh, I love it. You got to feel to heal.
You got to feel to heal. And that's, we're scared of the feelings. That's the fear we have of feelings. But once we can feel them and be like, all right, and feel them and then let them go, they're not going to get stuck, and they're not, like, that's going to open up your doors and begin to transition you into that place of more of that empowerment as well.
I love that, because then you're not in the high stress. I don't know what to do. No, I don't want the cake. I don't want the cake. Then you eat the whole freaking cake.
Mm-hmm.
And then, because it's like, go big or go home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
right.
And then you're on the hamster wheel hell again.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And when you go in with a good, like, I don't know, like a happy aura, soul.
Yes.
Then you have a little piece of cake. You might not eat all the cake. You might eat 2 pieces of cake.
Right.
But that's a different, it's okay.
Yeah,
It's okay.
100%. And you talk about cortisol, that stress and that fight or flight, which we're pretty much in all, like, that's because kind of like freaking society, right? I mean, like, and so like we're going upstream, uphill this battle. But so that's the external piece, because that's our perception. So if we learn how to use these tools, our emotional metabolism self-regulate, then the external doesn't really matter on the external, because we have these tools. And so I like to support people, like, I call it in the moment balance skills. It's just because when we're in the moment, we could go into these tools and use these tools to support any situation. So it doesn't have to be food. And of course, that's where I start with people, but they can use it in any situation and come out and be like, wow, I didn't expect that to happen. Whether it's like, if it's even in their career or a job or a conversation with a spouse or a conversation with your child, right? You can go in with that open-hearted, with that good feeling, right? That plenishing feeling, and it changes. It's a game changer. And so some of these skills, I'm just going to take, it's called a heart math technique. And I don't know if you ever heard of that, but those are skills that I use too.
Oh.
So it's a pretty amazing system, because it really taps you into those, into coherence, into heart coherence. And then you're just in that place of balance. You're balancing your autonomic nervous system. You're balanced. You're in that state of balance instead of, imbalance, where you're fight or flight, cortisol, stress, right? Which affects you emotionally and physically as well.
Oh yeah. No, I don't even want to know what my insides look like. But when you said feeling balanced and giving gratitude, I can't say everyone in society, but there's been in the past, I don't know, I say 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And with internet and everything, it seems to me it's been more of a dog eat dog world. I got to step on this person, get this person. And I really want to one up somebody, and everyone's living beyond their means, and everyone's fighting a battle I know nothing about. And you get on a different hamster wheel of hell. And everyone, to me, just seems stone, like they're hard, right? And how come it's so hard for people to lay down the sword and just be like, you know what? I don't want this anymore.
I'm sorry. Somebody froze a little bit.
Oh, basically, okay, can you hear me? No, it's okay. Yeah. Okay. So basically, I just said, like, people are more in a dog eat dog world.
Right.
And stepping on people to get somewhere. And that's how they think now that they have to be. Why is it so hard for people to lay down their sword and just be like, I don't want no part of this rat race anymore. Like, I'm just going to go off and do my own thing and be happy.
That I think part of getting to that place is you wanting, a person wanted to get to there on their own. So I think it needs, so we can't change anyone. So through my, years is like, I know I can't change anybody, right? But I can change myself. I know I can change myself, and I know I can change my response to situations. And that's kind of the process that I've been going through is, my own, like, okay, so how can I look at a situation differently? And then I share that, like, different perceptions. Like, so is that really is that really the truth? So the question is like, can we, let's just say something, can we eat food not from a place of good or bad or whatever, or want to lose weight or feeling like crap? Can we eat food just because we want to nourish ourselves, just because we want to feel good? Can we let everything else go? And that's another important piece, is letting other things go. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's an important piece, right? And that's another practice. So can we show up here today, me and you, not because we want to be seen, let's put it this way, but because we're here just because we want to share some good conversation, and whoever we can support with our conversation. We're here because that's what we want to do, not because of maybe, we'll gain a client or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Can we be here just because we want to share this valuable information? So it's another way of looking at things a little bit differently, but that's kind of also like the approach is, can we do things without an attachment to something, right? That's the word, without an attachment, without an expectation, right? I love, I'm going to cook dinner for whoever. And I'm not going to expect anyone to clean up afterwards. If they do, great. You know what I mean? Like, that's just kind of like a small little example, but that's without an attachment or without an expectation, but because we're coming from a place of service, right? And a place of love, all these nourishing and nurturing feelings. So it kind of, maybe it was like a long-winded answer from your question, but, I think it's a level, like, you keep improving and like, right. Our human life is a journey, and we keep learning and improving and up leveling. It's just another level that we get to see as we go through this, pathway, from my personal opinion.
Yeah. And when you start loving yourself and giving yourself grace and kick out the 7 horsemen, the guilt, the shame, all the people that like to party up in my head, it's very freeing and then contagious, right? Well, I think I'm a decent human being, but every time I get in my car, someone makes me mad, and then that goes out the window. But I get it back. And that's, Rome wasn't built in a day, right? So just give yourself grace, and
yes.
It happens. Birthday parties are going to happen.
Yes.
And we socialize around food.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
Like, it's not.
It's 100%.
And you can't be on a weight loss journey and expect the scale to go down every week. That's not realistic either, right?
Right. Yeah. I don't even ask my clients about their weight, to be completely honest. They'll share it with me. But we look at, I'm always assessing, like, physicality and other signs that their body's giving you. And so we look at so many other different measures of their success. And yes, food behaviors is also another measure of their success. So, like, I will assess, like, all these different eating behaviors, right, that one may perceive as negative. One of the questions I have is, like, someone said, is like, I love to eat, I love food. And so people often perceive that as negative. And I go, I don't think that's negative. I said, why, like, let's address that. So that's, so there's a whole host of things that I'll ask. And so when people change their thoughts around how they're eating too, those are also, wins. So it's not the physicality piece, that I'm focusing on. Of course, it's a part of it for them, but it's certainly not. It's not something that, like, it's a stupid number. It's a number, and I don't want people to get caught up in the number, because it really doesn't mean anything. I mean, like, if we're putting all our value on that number, it means, it truly doesn't mean anything. But then I get people to tap into that. What do you think that number means to you? Right? Yeah. And, like, observe what's going on with that number, because that's a part of the whole thing, is, like, observing, like, what is that self-talk? You didn't lose weight this week. Okay, so what does that mean? you did XYZ, you did really well, you could, you did all these amazing things. And just because you didn't lose weight, what are you making that mean, right? So what triggers are coming up? What are you making that mean? And so like, you talked about like, things that, we drive and we feel this road rage. Okay. So now now the next step is, okay, I'm feeling road rage. Like you're being let's be the gentle observer. Why? Like, I'm feeling rushed. I'm feeling I have no time. Like why? They're in my way. Like start to be the gentle observer, not the judger, not the juror, but the observer, right? Just observe like, okay, this is triggering me. Why is that triggering me? And then, like that, go through that too, as well.
So as a dietitian,
Mm-hmm.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Social media.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is, because somehow I get put down rabbit holes and I'm like, and like I said, I've been a size 22. I've been a negative 22.
Mm-hmm.
If you like, I'm not a dietitian, but I know a lot about a lot of stuff.
Sure.
And I'm like, well, that's garbage. That's garbage. That's garbage. But I'm a cynical kind of person. So how do people learn
Mm-hmm.
to kind of like take a double take? Because there was the big movement in, when was it, like 2000s, Atkins taking something out of a diet. And then there was, I don't know if you had Dr. Bernstein in the States. I remember that one.
Okay.
Dr. Bernstein here basically was a medical clinic. They give you vitamin B12 shots.
Okay.
And give you a book that thick of what you could eat and what you couldn't eat.
Mm-hmm.
And my cousin's husband went on it and he went crazy because I'm like, oh, you're losing too much weight way too fast.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was like keto, or I did the shake deal.
Right.
Everyone wants, I guess,
quick fix.
long-winded question, but everyone wants like an instant gratification.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What do you say to those people?
Well, that's, you're talking about social media. It's all the dopamine hit, right? It's all the quick fix, the quick hit, that like rewards our brain, etc. But when I'm, again, when I'm educating people, that's where the intuitive piece comes in. So I'll be like, what's feeling good to your body? Like, so I come from it like intuitive place, like what feels good to your body? How does it making you feel? Is it giving you energy, or is it giving, and I guess that's that GI piece, or does it bloat you? So that's the physicality piece, is like, we don't listen to our bodies, right? We've totally shut off listening to our bodies. So that's also a part of the process, is listen to what your body is saying. Get in touch to what your body is saying. And so I'm not coming from a place of this, you can't eat this food and you can't eat that food. Even though some foods, I do, some are inflammatory, there's chemicals loaded, and that's a whole nother story, right? That's a whole nother topic of discussion. But my first approach is like, how's that food making you feel? And so that's the intuitive piece, and that's being in a line. And that's when I want people to be in alignment with their choices, because it feels good to them. And it's coming from that positive place again, right? So what feels good to you? And that is, I have found, been very refreshing for people I work with. They're like, it's almost like a sigh of relief, like, okay, we're going to figure out what feels good to you. Because if they come to me complaining of GI issues, of course we want to address that, because it's going to affect them, but not from a place like, okay, cut out dairy, cut out gluten, which is the common. And I'm not saying some people do well and some people don't do well, right? There's both. And I'm open to, the other thing is, like, I think different foods work for different people. So I don't think there isn't a one size fit all, but that's why you really need to be in touch and listen to your body. What is your body feeling? Is that food causing me diarrhea, or is, that's how you want to kind of double back to that, to what you're feeling. And so, that's that process too. So it is a process, so it isn't a quick fix. And the foods, foods we're choosing, they're getting a quick, whatever, our sugars, cookies, whatever, it's getting a quick fix because they're needing some type of, they're feeling bad and they need that. They want to feel good. So we got to give them the tools to make them feel good without that quick fix. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
it happens at the same time.
And I love everything you're saying. I actually really do, because all food's fat. And I remember seeing someone like grapes. I'm like, what's wrong with grapes? They've been around for like a gazillion years. They're wrong with the dinosaurs, right? Like,
Yeah.
why is everyone hating on a grape? Like,
Right.
that's nature's candy,
Right.
right?
Right.
And that gives you your sugar hit as well,
Right.
healthy
Right.
sugar. Well, I call
Right.
it healthy sugar. I don't know
Right.
if that's right or not.
Right.
But if you're craving a grape and then you go 2 days without eating grapes, all of a sudden you're going to binge on Oreos.
Well, right. You're not going to.
And Oreos don't taste like grapes. Let's just be
No,
honest.
let's
But
be honest.
like you're going to like find some sugar
Right.
somewhere.
Right. But that's an addiction piece, right? So, there's that's the other where the addiction piece comes in, because there is that addictive, like all these addictions is alcohol, drugs, and sugar is addicting too. But why are we're going to these things, but because there's an issue to begin with, there's something underlying, right? So we need to figure that underlying piece and to support our emotions in a different way versus suppressing them, and self-soothing, whether it's alcohol, drugs, or food, right? It's a self-soothing. So it's presenting differently. It presents differently, but what's the underlying? Like, we need tools to support that. Again, this is from my perspective. We have to support those tools.
I'm kind of blown away by this conversation, because you're not the people that I met. I'll say that. And I've met a lot of dietitians. And I'm like, no, right? And I like that you are supportive and want to give tools, not just eat this, and see ya, goodbye, right? Like,
it doesn't work for me. It doesn't work like that. So again, I am all about whole food, real food, but from my perspective, that's the next level. I have to give them the tools to feel good with their decisions that they're making now. My approach. And then the next level is, okay, so now that we're feeling good, we're feeling confident, we have these tools. Now let's take it another level. Do you want to go, like, I'm not going to say McDonald's is good. I mean, like, that's just, but do you want to go to McDonald's? Let's up level it. You can cook.
Yeah.
Let's give you the skills. So it's for me, it's another level. It's just that next level. It's just the progression. It's just the natural progression that someone takes. So I don't necessarily start there. I actually don't start there. I start with where they are, and then we go further. Yeah. To be honest, that's kind of how has been the progression and how I'll work with someone one-to-one.
And you talked about inflammatory foods, and ones that help with, I guess, being inflamed. Could you give me a list of those? Because I know the people on my side of it, like, because I got edema when I went through recovery, and I was just like, oh my God, like, you couldn't even see my eyeballs. I was so swollen. And I know a lot of people on my side of it get very freaky, and this is why they run back to their, I call them slick. So are there certain foods that are good for people who, are coming into recovery and are getting inflamed?
So honestly, you really want the whole foods, because here we go with the shakes. So you're going on shakes, and what is all the shakes made up of? There's
clue, can't read it.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so the shakes aren't nurturing your mental health. They're not, and maybe they're getting the calories in, but again, they're not supporting like nourishing your brain the way your brain needs to be nourished. And if they have certain ingredients, they're certainly going to be inflammatory. So the whole foods, and like, so I know, into recovery, there's different foods, and this is not my area of expertise. However, like, if people need to be on a liquid diet, let's just say, you can blend whole foods and eat whole foods. that aren't as inflammatory as like those as a shake or something to get you past that reintroduction of food, right? And that bloating, etc. Because I understand that's scary and you don't want to do that. So that's kind of like my take on the inflammatory. So like anything highly processed is going to be inflammatory. I mean, that's just how it is. Like it's cut and dry. It's going to be inflammatory. So these shakes with all the crap in them, they're going to be inflammatory. They are. Can they serve a purpose? Short term, sure. I mean, I know. So again, here's the opposite, opposite end of the spectrum. People who, are morbidly obese and they do the shakes. It's not teaching them how to eat. It's not coming from a place of love. But I'm not going to judge that. I'm going to say, okay, if it's getting them to a place where they feel good, maybe then that's the gap that they need too. And again, that's also like, we're not going to judge where you've been. Let's be accepting and okay where you were. And now let's, here we are, let's move forward, but like anything highly processed is going to be super inflammatory. It just is. Fast food's inflammatory. I mean, it is. But again, that's that higher level. That's that next level. Because I want you to be able to come from, so I have, clients, that was their go-to, that was their binge food. But they're in a place that they don't even want to do that anymore because it's not nurturing and they connected with their body. Here's the other piece. They felt and connected with their body finally, because we disconnect from our body. They connected with their body and we're like, that doesn't make me even feel good anymore. Yeah. So I want it to come, I am nurturing, I'm supporting them to come from a place that's supporting themselves, Yeah. So I hope I answered your question about
No, you did. And like when you feel good, right? Like when you take out, I don't want to say take out foods, but if you just say stop going to a fast food chain, and that was your go-to because it's quick, it's easy, it's cheap, whatever the reasoning is, and you bring in food from a grocery store, right? Or the ground, right? Yes. Nuts, potatoes, vegetables, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Your body runs at a different level, like a whole different level. In your brain, you sleep so much better. You have clarity. It's like like the glasses came up, like you were in black and white and all of a sudden you can see color.
Yeah.
Everything is a different way of life. And I know for me, like my attitude changes on like being around people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. 100,000%. And so let's circle back to that social media, the quick fix. And so what have we learned? Let's just kind of like go big here is we don't have the tools to even cook anymore, right? Like that's kind of like been a lost art. So when someone is not confident in the kitchen, they're going to run to the fast food place or the quickest thing because they don't even know how to cook anymore. Right. So you need to develop those skills so that you feel confident that you can cook something and it will taste good. That's the other piece is like there's no confidence. People don't know how to cook. You know what I'm saying? So like that's an important piece. That's an important skill because that's giving you the confidence that you can do it. And again, the people I work with, that's an important piece. You need that skill. Right? And there's just so much other, but you need that, but the bottom line is that that's an important skill that people are often going to fast foods or quick fixes because they're scared or there's that fear that they can't cook.
Right.
There is a fear,
I'm going to mess it up.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not going to be
perfect.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's trying.
Yes.
Right? We all make mistakes. Yeah. Like everyone's there's no one on this earth who's never made a mistake 1,000 times over. Yeah. So that's how we get good at things.
That's how we learn.
Too.
Yeah.
Right?
And everything is feedback. Right. So again, that's my approach. Like it wasn't failure. There's not failure. I don't use that term failure. It's just feedback. Oh, okay. I did this and that's what happened. Okay. So next time I'm going to try something else. It's just feedback. We're just learning. That's all we're doing. We're just learning. So it's feedback, and you take it, and it's beautiful because you're learning something, and then you move on. You know.
The only thing I will say, like, because I am addicted to social media, I'm not going to lie about it,
Mm-hmm.
but I do go down like cooking on TikTok, and I love seeing things from different countries, how people cook different foods. I'm lucky. I live in Vancouver. We are very multicultural here. I
Mm-hmm.
could go anywhere and get food from around the world,
Mm-hmm.
down, like, walk one block.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is a great thing too. When you start saying all foods fit,
Right.
maybe you just didn't like your mom's bland cooking
Right.
growing up, because I didn't have spice growing up, right? Like, I don't think I had a taco till I was 15.
Mm-hmm.
So going to other culture restaurants, you might find you fit in with the Greeks, or you fit in with the Italians, or you fit in with
Yes.
the whoever, right?
Right. Right. And then just really kind of nurturing that piece to be open-minded to try different foods, right? Because like that's a fear. What if I don't like it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fear, and then I can't eat. Like that's another fear. But like try it. And we don't try. Like, not to make a blanket statement, but we're just scared to try things, or there's so many other things that play into that for sure. Even textures, right? Like that's sensory
Yeah.
things. Like that's all a part of it too.
Yeah. No, nobody ever wants to say they failed, but there's
Mm-hmm.
no failure.
No.
You don't fail,
Mm-mm.
right? Just
Mm-hmm.
learning. It's life,
That's
right?
it.
It's another
Yep.
another page in the book, man.
Yes.
Right? We're
Yeah.
just trying to get through it,
Yeah.
right? Like everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I'm very sorry, thankful that you came on, because you are the first dietitian. I really, really, really like
Oh,
you.
I'm
And
honored.
I wish you were mine, because it wasn't like that,
Yeah.
for me at all, right? And
Yeah.
just the fact that you explain how are we like explain why we're not taking anything out, explain, like, we need to feel feelings. Just someone telling me that would have
Mm-hmm.
been very helpful,
Yeah.
like very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I would have had you. I really do.
Well, here I am now.
Yay! And now you can't get rid of me. I'm like glitter.
I love it.
So where can everyone find you?
Yeah, just LauraTalosiNutrition.com. That's easy. I actually have I give away a chocolate cookbook, believe it or not. Like, as like, you can have chocolate, eat it too, and again, my population is they do want to lose weight, but they can have chocolate. Like, I love chocolate. We can still have it. So I have that as, if someone wants to, explore different recipes, and enjoy it too, they can. And then I do offer people, it's an end dieting. I do an end dieting session, right? We just explore where there are the challenges, etc. But I like it because it's end dieting. Like, we don't need to diet. It's, and that's a big stigma. And we, like, there's the bigger vision here, right? We need to support women and feel good about themselves and their bodies, and coming from a places of love versus, shame and guilt. So that's the kind of bigger vision that I see, and that I'm trying to work towards one by one.
Yeah, well, it's all about building a village. So, I mean, hey, right?
Mm-hmm.
Knowledge is power.
Yes.
And I always say, like, someone's going to get something out of something, right?
Yes.
There's always something, one little
Yes.
nugget
100%.
that you're going to get out of this that could change your whole way of thinking.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So
100%.
all I'm trying to do, man, is build the village.
Yes.
Build it, they will come.
Beautiful. Yes. 100%.
I'm trying.
Yes. Thank you.
I'm trying.
Thank you for this podcast, Heather.
So, I can't thank you enough. I can't.
It's been my pleasure. It really has been my pleasure. Really
And I want your
has.
chocolate cookbook.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm going to go order it.
I will send it
I'm
to
going
you.
to go order it.
Yes.
Yay. And I hope you come back so we have like another discussion.
Yeah,
like,
I would love
this.
to. I would love to. Anytime. I'm happy to come back. It was great.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
That's all for this episode of 1% Better. To continue the conversation, head over to our website at www.1percentbetter.ca, where you can access more stories and resources. We'd also love it if you subscribed and left us a review on your favorite podcast platform. And remember, friends, progress takes patience, perspective, and sometimes a little help from people who get it. So be kind to yourself and others as we work to get 1% better every day. We'll see you back here next week.